And then there is certain cuts when you are cutting, and when you're cutting through a log, and when you're cutting stove wood length, which heaven forbid you should have a saw, you often put a protector log up and you're chopping in a V-notch. And then a lot of people figure, oh, it's so fast, chopping at 45 degrees, you get the deepest penetration of the axe, and you go through pretty quickly. Now a stick like this you chop from one side, but a bigger log, you would cut 2 V-notches, and generally you start at the diameter of the tree and make the notches almost meet. You always see the professional chops the notch, and then they move over a little bit, because when they go through in that final cut, they don't want the axe to fly through. Even though you're spreading your legs and so on, that axe will come right through, whereas if it's offset a little bit, it'll the axe will separate the log, but it won't fly through. And wood, you're using the protector. Now this is a no-no. You're naturally trying to hold that stick from bouncing, and so, I don't know, I've lost count the number of times I've seen students chop themselves in the foot because they're holding it here, and as they do here, they get this glancing blow. So don't do that. Use other methods, whatever. The situation is that when you're limbing and you're going fast, you're on the side, you limb on this far side, because on this side you could deflect and come towards you. So you limb, step over, and you limb, and you're reaching, limbing and limbing. And when you reach the thinness, that instead of going up here and going chop, 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 a guy will go like this, and one cut off that end, one clean blow.
Hey,
and in the end of the day, he's miles ahead of you, because he knows all those sort of things.
When they're splitting though, will that work for just if something say falls on the ground and you want to do like a golf swing and split?
Well, you got to stay. You got to stop and think. Get well away here, and the smart person will go get the touch there and say where it is, so that when you go, then you don't go. Well, maybe I will get away with it, just simply going back here and aiming with my eye. Now, playing tennis, they tell you, keep your eye on the ball, not on the racket. Mm-hmm. When you're using an axe and you're learning, you're looking at what you're going to strike. When I'm splitting wood, I'm not looking at what my axe is doing. My eyes, I'm looking where I want to hit with the axe, and I usually can hit it deadly where I'm looking. And same with that sort of stuff. But, a lot of these things, well, you're asking questions where these things might have stymied you, but all this 8 hours a day, and getting into the habit and finding out, what the sweet situation is, getting used to your axe, and on and on. Now, if you're going to learn to fell trees, it is definitely very dangerous for you to come up to the tree and reach around and you can't touch your nose. It's already dangerous enough to fall, but a tree bigger than that, you should seek professional instruction, because there are things that can happen that you have no dream can happen, and have someone who knows how to use an axe do a bit of training. And while I'm talking about danger, the biggest killer is properties. And when that tree dies, it changes its properties. Like birch is nasty. Birch is a very flexible tree. And when you fell the birch and it snags on something, it bends, and then it shatters. And there's pieces of wood, maybe this big, flying in various directions. Maybe not more. Sometimes when you break a stick, you'll see a shard fly off. And birch tends to do that. And that shard can knock your head off your head, can blind you or break your nose, or some not pleasant situation. But the real killer that perhaps gets more people, and again, everything, probably a great deal of axe instruction is something like teaching you not to make assumptions, and then putting you through the paces, so that when you pull these things off, you understand what's trying to be said. And the most dangerous thing is to have a tree, and here you can sort of hold it momentarily, and as you fall the tree, it breaks. The distance from the ground, and you're chopping down here, the distance from there to here is relatively short from here to here. And when the tree falls, and I guess we might reach that stick there. Okay, you let go for a sec. When the tree falls, it's going to go this way, and it's falling. I guess that this is kind of short. But essentially what happens is the tree is falling, and let's say the stump was this high, and it hits that tree and breaks, and it comes down very violently where you're standing.
Oh, it's a back
Yeah, it breaks up high, and as it hits there, and you'd say, how could a tree come and fall in my way once it's on its way? It breaks right there, and then it comes down, and probably it probably takes something less than this to kill you, because when that comes down and whacks you in the right place, I think you'll it'll. When you see,
have a bad day.
You go to your pulp cutters, you know, the big mills that work. They usually have a safety display, and when you see how shattered many hard hats are, and they say about how little it takes to completely destroy your shoulder and stuff like that, it's a serious thing. But you got to always keep in mind, and when you look up at a tree and you start chopping and you look up at the wrong time, the vibration of your chopping can break off a twig at the top that's the size of a pencil, and as you look up, this pencil thick stick just about takes your eye out falling that distance. So the knowledgeable person goes up to the tree and is watching and looking and starts tapping the tree harder and harder. Number one, looking for twigs, or you'll hitting them harder to dislodge some, but you'll notice a wobble about this weak point maybe. And then you'll sort of act accordingly and say, okay, got to really keep that in and keep that in mind and so on. Now, all of these things, probably they're in the Acts chapter, because you know, there is about 2 or 3 books that I'm aware of that were you know, that are on axes, but I'm the only modern person who, you know, I'm always arrogant about the point 30 students for 30 days for 23 years, 30 students for 30 days for 15 years, and then countless students, and then taking groups and putting them through the paces where I came to the determination, 8 hours a day for 5 to 10 days to make you into an axeman. It's not like I'm guessing. I've been personally involved in those things. It's nothing. In Kephardt's book it says, nothing causes the envy. What is it? To watch a man who really knows how to use an axe creates a great deal of envy on the part of the person who doesn't know how to use an axe. And it only comes, it's like swimming. If you're a good swimmer, you didn't achieve it by getting wet or doing it occasionally. And you have to really apply yourself and so on. But that's the way axes go.
Thanks for that.